Hey guys, kinggath here, and in this video we're going to go over upgrades and levels of plots. So when you place a plot, it's considered level 0. Then after a settler is assigned, a building plan is chosen, and it's built up, the plot is considered level 1. So before a building is on the plot, it's level 0, and then when it builds the initial structure and the scaffolding comes down, it's level 1. Now, if a plot doesn't have a settler assigned and you go off adventuring, but you have auto assign enabled, they might move into that plot and build up to level 1 while you're away. So if you wanted to, you could pre-plan your entire settlement, and the idea there is that you will come and go from your settlements and still enjoy the rest of the game, and you'll know that you've got some new things to see every time you come back to your settlements. So you're meant to come and go and not just stand around waiting for your settlers to build up and upgrade all of their plots. So as I mentioned, the plots actually upgrade. So after a while, so long as you're meeting all of the needs of your settlers, they'll start upgrading their buildings in time. Now they'll do this automatically, even while you're out in the world, so you don't have to stand around waiting for this. And while you're away, if you want to know what things are happening, you've got a few options. And for the most part, both of these options are enabled by default, but you could turn off either of them if you wanted. So you can be notified of new construction via messages up in the corner of your screen or through our quest tracker, which is automatically enabled in your quest log. And you can even toggle on various options for each of these. So I will show you those in a future video where we go over the notification and tracking systems, but just know that either of those options can be enabled or disabled. Those will show you if new plots are built up to at any level. So whether that be to level 1 or they upgrade beyond that in the future, and then once a plot is upgraded, it will stay at that level until the next time you visit that settlement. So that way you always get a chance to see all of these different levels, and you don't have to worry about how long you're out adventuring, so you never have to feel pressure to come back to certain settlements. If you're happy with what you're doing out there, you can keep going, and then when you're ready to come back, you can go back to your settlement and check out what's changed. Now, in order to upgrade, each plot has certain requirements. These requirements are designed to make the gameplay a little more interesting. So you have different plot types tying into different needs, and certain plot types require certain other plot types to exist at various levels in order to upgrade. The overall idea there is to keep the gameplay dynamic and to make it more interesting to build your settlements, and so you'll need to keep the different plot types in mind. A lot of these options I'm going to talk about can be changed in the holotape. So if you don't like something I described, don't worry, there's probably a way to disable that particular option, and we'll go over all of that in a future video, but just know for now, anything you don't like the sound of in some settlements can essentially be customized. So by default, all plot types require at least 3 needs to be met in order for them to upgrade. The first is happiness. Now, each plot level requires a greater amount of happiness to be hit, and I'm not going to talk about specific numbers of things like that, as the actual numbers might change in patches. So in the name of not having to re-record these videos constantly, I'm going to point you to a link in the corner here, which is going to take you to a chart on our wiki, and that has the latest information on the specific numbers. So if you're looking for the exact amount of happiness or the exact amount of time that has to pass for an upgrade, etc., all of that information is available on the wiki, and it will be kept up to date in a lot easier fashion than me having to re-record these videos. All right, so happiness is one, and the next is that your defense needs are met. And this is because we figure your settlers aren't going to want to upgrade their buildings and invest in them if you're not even helping to provide effective defenses to protect what they've got now. And then finally, the third thing that every plot type requires is a certain amount of time to pass. So they've got to have time to accumulate resources in order to actually build up their own plots. Now, each of the plot types, well, I should say some of the plot types, have specific requirements that are unique to those plots. So first up, we've got residential. Residential, on top of the happiness, defense, and time needs, also requires that food and water are met. And again, this follows the same logic as the defenses, that if there's not enough food and water to sustain your settlers, they're not going to be inspired to invest anymore in this settlement. So you've got to keep them happy. Then we've got agricultural, which has the additional requirement of having water needs met. And then we've got commercial, which require that you've got a certain number of residential that are higher level than that commercial. And the idea there is that in order for commercial to move in and want to upgrade and therefore improve their wares, they've got to know that your settlement has a certain level of customers available. You've got to have enough wealthy people living there that can pay for all these things they're selling. You'll notice visually with a lot of the plots is that over time, the settlers will start gaining things like more lighting and decorations. And this is to imply that your settlement is doing better economically and they can afford better things. So commercial kind of follow that logic, and until your residential plots start upgrading, your commercial will not upgrade. Then the last one with an extra requirement are martial plots, which require a certain number of industrial plots, with the idea being that your industrial kind of represents your technology, and as your technology improves, you'll be able to provide more advanced defenses. Now again, I mentioned all of these options can be changed. They are available in the holotape if you want to look through it, or if you're interested in the specifics, you can check back through these playlists for the holotape video, or what I would really recommend you doing is taking a look at the wiki. The holotape options documented there are going to be much more accurate because we are constantly adding new holotape options to give everybody finer tuned control of the mod. And this is why in the quick start video, I mentioned you should use the wizard because there are a crazy number of holotape options. And since that quick start video was made, we've actually made the wizard kind of mandatory where you select either new user or a profile. So all of you will have gone through the wizard and a lot of these options will be configured for you. Now, the last thing I want to talk about before signing off for this video is the look at Plac option on the plots so that I can talk about what some of the numbers you'll find there. So the first one is the plot level. In general, plots have 3 levels if you exclude level 0. So technically, I guess there are 4, but the level 0 is before any actual building exists. It's just the plot exists and is ready for assignment. So after that first structure is built, the plot can upgrade twice. Now, as the building is upgraded, you'll notice that some of these numbers might change. In general, as the buildings upgrade, they will have a more pronounced effect on your settlement. Now, if you're not using the dynamic needs system, which is covered in a future video in the series, then all of these numbers will generally be either 0 or positive. But if you're using dynamic needs, you'll start to see that some of these numbers become negative. Again, I'm not going to cover that here. I'll let you check out the dynamic needs video if you're interested in that system. I just wanted you to understand why there would be negative numbers. So it is enabled for a lot of you, depending on the options you selected during the wizard, because it makes keeping your settlers' needs satisfied much more interesting. Because it's more than just the flat 1 food and 1 water per settler permanently. Instead, the needs will change over time and involve more things, so that you can help evolve your settlement over time to meet those changing needs. But if you chose new user or the autonomous profile during the wizard, then dynamic needs will be disabled and you won't see any negatives here. Okay, so that's as much as I'm going to talk about dynamic needs here. You definitely want to check out that other video if the system interests you, or if you think that it's enabled and causing something weird. But otherwise, thank you guys for watching and stay tuned for additional video content to showcase more of what you can do with sim settlements.